The Taifa Ngao translates to the shield of the nation. It is the name given to the Wakandan Council of Tribal Elders. One elder, Hodari, holds up his Kamoyo band and an image emerges for all to see. He explains that it began with Killmonger's final act of treachery. The Ngandans were the key. Power was what Killmonger promised them. Power to crush Wakanda and bring all of Africa to its knees. And when it seemed Killmonger's genius had failed him, he blamed these same Ngandans. But it was not Killmonger's genius that failed him. It was his patience. Killmonger is dead. Still, his creation haunts Wakanda. It was this creation who twisted the miners at the Great Mound and angled them toward massacre. The king has tracked the strange woman in green to the frontier at the edges of the Wakandan border. He will go alone. The Queen Mother warns the king that if he should fall, Wakanda will undoubtedly rupture. Achille, leader of the Hattutzereze, the secret police force of Wakanda, voices his concern as well. Achille reasons that if the Hattutzereze were aiding the king at the Great Mound, the strange woman in green would have never gotten away. The king appreciates Achilles' concern, but this is not a fight that can be settled by mere arms. It was their very arms that they fell upon their people. The king states he will go alone because he's fought those who control the mind before. He is prepared where the soldiers are not. The blood of their people is on his hands. He will bring this woman to heal himself, and no psychic trick will save her. Elsewhere, on a Jambazi compound, safely hidden within a large tree in northern Wakanda, a mother prepares her daughter for the worst. She warns her, do not plead, do not cry, for their cries are but song to them. The daughter must be strong. They must live. She must live. Before the mother can finish her sentence, their captors walk through the door. The screams of the women fuel them. They grab the daughter and slam her on the cage, claiming that they will have their way. She pleads for her mother to save her. Their captors cackle like jackals, for her cries are but song to them. When, out of nowhere, one of the midnight angels lands on top of the cage, she curses these men, these Mijinga, and uses her scepter to cut a hole so she can break through. The angel easily takes down the man holding the mother and uses her scepter to free the daughter from the other. They are nothing but vermin and vultures, feeding amidst the decay of their country. More of the captors arrive. They carry weapons. Their inexperience will be their downfall. The angel strikes one of the men and he stumbles off balance. She uses this to her advantage and lifts the man up and uses his body as a shield to protect her from the others. She then calls her scepter back and knocks out the others with ease. The Golden City may cower at their approach, but by the Orishas, the angel swears at it. Wakanda has not died yet. The Midnight Angel is joined by another, and the two quickly clear out the rest of the encampment. Shortly after, when all the women are freed, each of them take their turn thanking the angels, praising the goddesses, that the angels have delivered them. Praise be to their daughters of the dark. The angels respond that this is but the first trial. Death's shadow still hangs over them all. The daughter cries out in frustration, telling her mother that she does not care if they die. She will make them pay. She will make all the Jambazi pay for what they have done to them. The Midnight Angels agree. The daughters deserved so much more. She deserved a Wakanda that cherished her. But this is the Wakanda they have. And while the Midnight Angels breathe, they swear to these women, they shall all pay. And in solidarity, the women burn their message into the sand. No one man. That night, the two Midnight Angels, Io and Anika, ponder on where they will go next. It is a big country. A big, unruly country filled with Jambazi and corrupt chieftains, many of them operating under the royal eye. Unfortunately, Io did not come up with a plan on what she would do after she freed Anika. That mattered little. What mattered was that Anika would be free. Anika smiles and raises her arm into the air. Luckily, she has a plan. Her Kimoyo band produces a map of the surrounding territories, and she begins to explain their next move. Meanwhile, at the Ngandan border region, the king infiltrates the encampment where he knows the strange woman in green to be. When T'Challa was a boy, his uncle Sayan ruled Wakanda in his stead. And when he was of age, Sayan stood aside as T'Challa was crowned. He did this happily. Too happily. T'Challa believed his happiness a mask for intrigue and scheme. Only with the crown upon his own head did T'Challa come to understand. Heavy is the head, they say. The proverb does no justice to the weight of the nation, of its people, its history, its traditions. The day after T'Challa became king, Sayan offered a single piece of wisdom. Power lies not in what a king does, but in what his subjects believe he might do. This was profound, for it meant that the majesty of kings lay in their mystique, not their might. Every act of might diminished the king, for it diminished his mystique. Might exposed the king's powers, and thus his limits. Might made the king human, breakable. And so, some of T'Challa's might he has kept from the world, allowing legend and myth to fill in the gap. For what the people know not is the true power of kings. T'Challa's uncle, Sayan, is dead now, murdered by another king. He loved him. But T'Challa wishes Sayan had told him not just of the power of kings, but of the might of the people. T'Challa wishes he'd warned him that they too have secrets. They too hold mysteries. They too possess a power all their own. The king fights through a slew of soldiers. He makes sure to pull his strikes as to not critically injure his own people. However, his instincts get the better of him, and the king hits a soldier with a blast of energy powerful enough to send him flying through the compound and barreling through the wall of a nearby building. Inside, the king finds elders, women, and children. All of them are wearing green. The king also finds the strange woman from before, the witch. The king warns the witch to stay out of his head. She chuckles, for why would she trifle with the king's head when she can so easily devour his heart? There is a school, a university, the Hikima Shule. It is located within the Wakandan city of Bernin, Azaria. That is where a man named Changamir teaches. He quotes the philosopher John Locke. The injury and the crime is equal, whether committed by the wearer of a crown or some petty villain. Great robbers punish the little ones to keep them in their obedience, but the great ones are rewarded with laurels and triumphs because they are too big for the weak hands of justice in this world, and have the power in their possession which should punish offenders. What is my remedy against the robber who so broke into my house? That is the question. How should the weak marshal justice against the powerful? The man from the border, Tetu, arrives. He approaches Changamir using his walking stick and asks the teacher to answer his own question. How does he believe the weak should marshal justice? Seeing Tetu is quite a surprise to Changamir. When Tetu left the university to join the shaman, Changamir did not expect to see the boy so often. Tetu responds, whether it is science or mysticism, the search for knowledge never ends. But is that all Tetu seeks? Changamir has heard tales of Tetu's association with brutal men sworn to the knife. Tetu swears that what he does for his country. He has founded an order that fights to protect Wakandans while their king slaughters them. How long will they let the royals plunder their people? How long will they stand aside and watch? Tetu repeats, "What is my remedy against the robber who so broke into my house?" Back at the Ngandan border, the king is possessed. He sees visions of his sister, Shuri. Her tongue is sharp. She kicks him to the floor and asks him how he could do such a thing, how he could leave her to die. He is no king. He is nothing but a fool. The king tries to convince himself that nothing he sees is real. And yet, everything there matters. Just because a thing is unreal does not make it untrue. This is the truth the king believes. The truth of what he feels whenever he hears his name. The king is cast out by those who come before him. He has lost his way. He has lost his very soul. To get back, the king must see beyond himself, beyond his deepest truths. To get back, the king must see things not as he feels them to be, but as they are. The king realizes that he isn't fighting himself. He is fighting men by the swarm. He was enchanted. The king was wrong. His enemy is not a beguiler, but a revealer. The witch brings out of them all the awful feeling that they have hidden away, and makes them manifest. So, the king knows now that this is who he is. Might, shame, and rage. And now, these people know too. Once each of the men working with the woman in green are dispatched, the king tells the elderly, the women, and the children that they are free. The men who now lay beaten are responsible for crimes against their country. They will be brought to justice. He, their king, will provide for them. The children shoot daggers with their gaze, strong enough to pierce even the armor of the Damisa Sarki. The elders turn their backs, leaving a lone woman to speak up. She tells the king that those men the king had just beaten weren't captors. They were their providers. Once again, the king returns to the necropolis, to his laboratory, hidden away. The king works at his computer, running test after test, and every test is met with failure. How long must he be divided from his own people, from his own country, from his own blood? And how long must he be parted from his sister? Here is what is real. A final act of vengeance by the hand of Thane, the son of Thanos. the Wakandans shackled the Black Order. They escaped and shattered the king's nation. By a counterfeit power, the prisoner became the jailer, and Queen Shuri did not live, and Queen Shuri did not die. No, instead, Queen Shuri meditates and waits. She waits in the vast emptiness of unconsciousness until she is met with a familiar face. A familial face. Her mother's face. Queen Shuri quickly asks the woman who they are. Surely, they are not really Ramonda. The woman smiles and raises her hand. And suddenly, they're home. On the Dajalia, the plane of Wakandan memory.